1. And we should be live. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Talk Power BI. If you're watching us live, do type in a hello in the chat box. Let us know where you're watching us from. Let us know if the audio is coming in loud and clear. You can see our screen. Today is a special episode. We have one of your favorite speakers coming back. So you all know Charles Elwood. You've heard his story. He has shown up quite a few times on our Talk Power BI show. You know his story. He runs the Power BI consulting company solusmatica.com. In fact, I'll bring it up really quick. It should also be in the description of the video you're watching right now. And he has he focuses on helping digital marketing companies. So that's what he's here to talk about today, and how he's kind of focused on that market, and it's specifically around building dashboards for them that really make a difference, that make an impact, are not just pretty pictures. All right, so let's see, who do we have? We have Yanni Boris from California. Hello, Yanni. Shari, always good to see you here. Ajay says hello. Abigail says hello from Mexico. Hola, my friend. Juan is also from Mexico. Juan, good to have you here. Turk is from Boston, Massachusetts. Ajay is joining from India, Bangalore. Juliet is here from Belmont, Massachusetts. Hungary is here. I was thinking, yeah, where is Europe? All right, cool. And Babesh is here from Canada. Madhusudan says hello. Vimali says hello. All right, great. So we have quite a few guests on. So we're going to kick this off. And let's see how we're going to do it. So first of all, let's stop my screen share and let's give our focus to Charles Elwood. Charles, how are you doing today? Oh, wait. Do we still have
There
you
we go.
Yeah,
I was
awesome.
muted. Yeah, I'm doing great, Avi. I'm really excited um, to tell my story. As you know, I've been practicing telling my story, and there's different versions and different angles and stuff. But yeah, it's been people are resonating with the story and stuff, and that's kind of that's part of the journey. Is I kind of picked this niche to go into. Yeah.
Terrific. Terrific. So let's talk about that a little bit. So, folks, we are going to jump into kind of the dashboard, and we'll have Charles talk about that. I think I had sent out a teaser of the dashboard in the email that went out this morning, so you've seen kind of a glimpse of that. But Charles will talk to us more about that. But let's walk through that journey a little bit. So, how long have you been running your company, solusmatica.com, now?
So technically, I started. Let's see, it would have been a year ago. I registered the LLC.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, I didn't do any marketing. I didn't do any sales. I didn't do any networking. And I just kind of sat on it for 6 months. And, I was doing a lot of stuff, and I did a video on this, but I was researching just all kinds of interesting new technologies like
Mm-hmm.
AI, just data science, because I was reading that data science was one of the top growing jobs in the world. And I was using, Indeed to mine the data. I have another video where I was taking data on it. And, after looking at all this, I was like, oh, and blockchain too. But I was
Yeah,
like, I've
great.
seen a pattern. I was like, a lot of these are really early. I didn't see the market, the value, where it was really taken off. But with business intelligence, I started hearing more and more about business intelligence. So then I looked at Tableau, ClickSense, and Power BI, and I remember putting on my website, it's like, hey, I do all of them, just
Yeah.
because I really didn't know at that point. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like, I just open the funnel wide
I'll,
open and
I'll,
figure
I'll
it
do
out.
I'll do this BI stuff, right? It
Yeah,
looks
just
promising.
BI,
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
BI, but and I was trying to learn all these things, and I was like, wow, this is,
yeah.
I gotta focus a little bit. So that's when I started looking at the trends, and I have the video on that too. It's like, oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
Power BI is just taking off right now, and that's where I discovered your channel, Avi, and so I went in, and this is part of the journey too. I remember you had scheduled an intro call, and
Yeah, the welcome
I was
calls with
supposed
you.
to be able
Yeah,
to talk to you. Yeah, I think I canceled on you. I'm really sorry. I canceled on you 3 times,
yeah,
but I finally met up with you on a call, and it was, I was like, oh, Avi's like a super friendly guy. And the power of video of us talking. I was like, this is phenomenal. And
Yeah.
I still remember too, you sent me a bonjour video, after I signed up for the class, and I was like, oh wow, Avi Singh sent me a personalized video.
Yeah.
This is different. This is powerful. So I was watching all these trends, right? And realizing how powerful video was, because when I saw your video, I was like, I trust you. You seem like a nice guy. You seem to have the same values as me.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
yeah, that's great. Hey, I'm gonna pause the story just for a little bit. So for one, you mentioned that you have videos about this, about your journey, about what you're learning. Where can people find that? Where
Oh
is
yeah,
that?
so I post them. If you follow me on LinkedIn,
Perfect.
I put one out every week, and then if you go on YouTube now, I post all of them. Solismatica on YouTube, and then that way you can
Got it.
watch the all my older videos. Yeah.
Great, great.
Um,
So we might have one of those links in our description. We'll add the other two, but folks, yeah, it should be pretty easy to find Charles Elwood on LinkedIn. So follow him there. So I do want to get deeper into your journey, but we're
yeah.
gonna kind of do kind of how the movie scenes they kind of cut. So let's talk about kind of right now. So tell me a little bit about digital marketing. Like, who are the company? Who are you serving? Who's out there listening? Who would be is kind of the person you're looking to help?
Yeah, so I was finding all kinds of people. I had the funnel wide open, but people were coming to me with, they're like, hey, we have CRM data, from Salesforce or HubSpot, and we've got all these
Hmm.
leads.
Yeah.
But we really can't format the data in a way we want to see it. Like the leads, if we win this job and this job and this job, when will the projected cash flows come in? Or when will the labor hit? What's my workload look like? And if I did what if analysis, if I picked these three, I know I'm going to win them.
Yeah.
Where are the gaps? Is it June? Is it July? So I was doing this type of analysis for a couple of companies with capacity and kind of my old project management stuff, scheduling and looking at pipeline and workload.
Yeah.
And it was so powerful to see the data that way, and for them to really understand when their projects were going to hit. And I was like, whoa, there's a real need in for marketing. And then I think I wanted to walk the walk, talk the talk, and I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm getting into digital marketing, but who am I to say, hey, I got it working? So I started, I did some research, and LinkedIn was incredible because it's got all the people that are your decision makers on there.
Hmm.
Um, that when they connect to you, they give permission to you to talk to them. It's not like followers on YouTube or Instagram, or
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a permission that's given. There's a trust that's established. And then I read somewhere, I think Nathan Bevey's on YouTube, and he was telling he had a slide that said LinkedIn, the level of trust versus like Facebook or Instagram or any of the other ones, it was
Hmm.
something like 60-70% the posts people trust LinkedIn versus the other ones. And then the other thing was the trust, and then people didn't know about it, right? So a lot of people weren't posting on LinkedIn. They've still kind of left it open for free.
Yeah, it's some
Um,
place you go when you're looking for a job, right? I mean, that's the
yeah,
only time you
yeah,
think of it for some people. But hey,
yeah,
it can be very very effective if you start using it routinely. Cool, cool. So that's great.
yeah. And the K rate, the last thing I looked at was the K rate. Some of these Instagram, Twitter,
K
they're
rate.
quick. Like,
What is that?
yeah, like how long the posts last or pushed into people's feeds.
Ah.
So like
So
Twitter is boom, it's gone. Like,
exactly, yeah. Twitter, yeah, it's like a treadmill. A lot of the other stuff. Instagram can be like that. So you're
yeah. So
saying the LinkedIn, the posts, the articles, the videos would last longer than some of the
yeah,
other
so
platforms.
I started experimenting. I downloaded the data, watched my LinkedIn, and then I watched the timing of how long my post would last.
Wow.
And it was incredible because I would post, and if I put really good content, it would last for a week and a half. People were still
Yeah.
seeing it and liking it. And I was like,
So,
wow, the exposure from this is huge.
man, so this is pretty phenomenal. So I see what you're doing here, and frankly, it took me a bit to get. So you're approaching it from two sides, and of course, I have worked in sectors which I mean, I went in there like healthcare. I looked at the data, and yeah, I built something for them, and they liked it, and yeah, that was great. That can still be really effective, but you're saying that's not enough. I am helping them, as kind of a client, right? But
Yeah.
I also want to kind of experience some of that stuff. So that's your other journey where LinkedIn is saying, hey, let me try kind of this digital marketing thing and test out all these different platforms, how it works, so that I can walk in their shoes for a
Right.
bit. That's
Yeah. Yep.
that's great. But man, the stuff that you said for the digital marketing persona, that was so powerful. And I wanna dive into that a little bit. So from what I understood, so digital marketing, of course, they're trying to attract clients, right? I mean, it's all about getting those sales, and so sales is kind of more direct, where you're talking to a lead or something like that. Marketing is a little bit longer term, but that's what basically fuels the funnel, right? I mean, if you're not doing marketing right, then your sales can really struggle. So everybody gets that. But then how do you kind of layer the numbers on it? And I think the two key challenges that you talked about was one, uh, so in our industry, they talk about this a phenomenon of feast and famine, right? So maybe there's some things in the industry where, oh, now we get a lot of leads and then it's famine, right? So and nobody wants that. So you talked about the pipeline. Can we get some predictability in there, right? Can we see that? Oh, what are the dips, what are the highs, what are the lows, and do something to kind of adjust for that. So that's one. And then, of course, the other side was the labor, because of course, selling is one thing, but you got to kind of service that contract too. And what does that involve? That often may involve I don't know, I mean, manufacturing or services or kind of human capital or so forth. So you got to say, oh well, we're landing these I don't know 10 different clients next month. Do we have the capacity to handle that? Does that did I kind of get that right? Is that
Right.
okay? Cool. Is there other specific unique challenges to digital marketing?
Yeah. So I get this question all the time now that I'm doing LinkedIn. They're like, wow, well, the first comment I get is like, Charles, you are all over LinkedIn. And that has been so kind of rewarding for me because I
Yeah.
go all over town and, people that don't, engage with me on LinkedIn
Yeah. Yeah.
are coming up to me and it's like, you're doing something different on LinkedIn because I see you all the time. And I'm like,
Wow.
I haven't seen you and I haven't talked to you in a while, but
That's
wow, interesting.
great.
People just see it even though they don't engage.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing about marketing that maybe I think this ties into your question is that a lot of people just see it and they're not taking action. So this is kind of like our dashboards. Are people
Mm-hmm.
taking action? Are people getting value? Is something happening? And I wanted to drive that action. So I really worked on the three lines on my LinkedIn because that's all they show. And then you have to say, see
Yeah.
more. I put statistics in there and put emojis so that I would pop out so that
Yeah.
people would see me. And then I would post a statistic that's kind of, like, wow, I didn't know that. And then I was like, hey, comment on this if you think otherwise or whatever. And people then start liking it and then they start commenting. And then the big kicker is I engage back. So I
Yeah.
comment back. So many people don't, they just post something and just let it fly, right? But
Yeah.
I'm there engaging and having a conversation with people. People thank me and then I add value back.
Yeah.
And it becomes a two-way communication, which LinkedIn before wasn't that way. But now there's a conversation going and people are
Yeah.
really engaged. And that's just, it adds action to the data that I'm posting, the value that I'm posting. So
Man, that's brilliant. So hey, let's do the screen share piece. So I know
sure.
you have a kind of dashboard to show us, but folks, yeah, I mean this is pretty cool. I mean, you heard Charles talk about it, because he's kind of approaching it from two different angles. One, he's helping his clients, so digital marketing, looking at the data, all of that stuff, building dashboards, but also going on walking their shoes kind of himself. Cool. So walk us through what we're looking at.
Yeah. So this is, I downloaded my LinkedIn data. For just for the past 4 or 5 years, and I cut it down to 2017, just to be able to show all the data on this graph. But one of the
Holy
things is,
moly! I'm looking at
yeah,
the graph shoot up, and no wonder people are walking up to you, probably in grocery stores and everywhere. Say, "Hey,
yeah,
Charles, I
yeah.
saw your LinkedIn." Gosh,
It's
that's
been
great.
it's been so much fun. Like you could see the connections is the orange line.
Mm-hmm.
The count of likes. I've never seen this type of engagement before. People that see this are like just blown away.
Yeah.
And I've looked at other people's strategies and charts too, and they
Yeah,
were
man. Hey,
just going
can
after,
you do me a favor? Can you
yeah,
pop out that chart for a second, just because it's so awesome?
this one.
So folks, yeah. For one, I mean, we all love looking at real data, so I'm glad Charles is open to just putting up his own kind of data on there. Because yeah, that's so much better than AdventureWorks or Contoso. I'm sure everybody would agree. Great, great, awesome, man. That's beautiful.
So yeah, before April, May last year, I was doing what everybody else was doing, which is I posted my resume. I went after connections and networking. Maybe it would help me win a job in the future. But you can kind of see here where I changed strategy and I
Yeah,
posted content that was valuable to other people. And that was my main focus. And then I started, you can see the count of comments, the count of likes, so my connections went up, my comments went up.
yeah,
People were engaging with me, they were liking my content, and it just exploded on me.
great. So I'm trying to also. So I know. Well, obviously the clients that you work with, their data would be sensitive, so it's kind of harder to show. So you're using your own data to kind of showcase this. But I'm trying to make a connection with
Right.
kind of a company who's investing in digital marketing. So of course, I've been in the same boat, and I've seen others in the same boat where they're doing a lot of stuff, but they don't really know what's sticking versus not. And they will say, "Oh, let's do
Yeah.
this thing," and they have these great ideas, but then nobody really knows the ROI. So I think what you're showing here, what companies can take from that is that if you do collect the numbers around your digital marketing, and that could be LinkedIn, that could be other platforms, right? So it could be any of that. I'm sure it's possible to get data out of any of those platforms to build a similar dashboard. But you can have this kind of feedback loop. You can see exactly that, oh, look, we changed the way we were communicating or so forth, and look at the impact and adjust based on that, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Great.
so yeah, let me go back to this. So, this is kind of the strategy too. I was posting once a month, and then I changed the strategy to posting maybe twice a month, and then recently now I'm posting
Wow.
about twice a week. And the engagement, you can see
Yeah.
kind of the results on the last few months. And then over on the right, this is a fun one because I was experimenting. I was posting
Mm.
at different times during the day,
Mm-hmm.
and I was posting, on different days of the week.
Yeah.
And, I was, and, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, if I was posting on those days, and this is from earlier before I
Yeah.
learned, when to post, but
Yeah.
I figured out what times because I just did that experiment yesterday where I posted last night. I think the post for this show,
Mm-hmm.
but I did it at 6, 7 o'clock and nobody was watching it. Nobody looked at it. And I got maybe 100 views total.
Yeah.
But I timed it this morning and I posted something else and it was a picture and I posted at 9:30. And it's already up to 400 views. So,
Wow.
kind of the same thing again is I was feeding it back and I was learning from the data,
Yeah.
of when to post. And it was really impacting me.
Yeah.
And so I'll continue. So this is another interesting one is the count of position, and also count of companies. Um, I really didn't think about count of position and how it, would give me insight into my market. But what's kind of interesting is if you look at past years, only 14 connections.
Mm-hmm.
There was presidents and electrical engineering. So this was prior to my marketing, my move into BI.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into 2018 and still kind of the same thing. I didn't have any BI people or IT people, but if you go into
Interesting.
2019, you can see here the jump to 238,
Wow.
connections. And then, I was meeting with more founders and more, founder owner. Um, and then if you look in the data too, there's a lot more marketing, business intelligence. So you
Yeah.
can kind of see the shift in who I was connecting with in the data too. And then, this year, my whole strategy is to connect with more marketing people. So this is still developing, but,
Yeah.
my plan is BI and marketing people. So I can watch my strategy and I can take metrics on how many people have a marketing in their position name and then see how well I'm doing
Great.
with my strategy. Yeah. So yeah, this is an example, of what I've been using, and I just wanted to put it out there that not only do I do this, but on my
Yeah.
own, but I'm helping other companies analyze their data and move into this too. So
Awesome, awesome. So I definitely have some questions for you, but I want to ask you: was there something else that you wanted to show, or is it okay to dive into some questions?
yeah, let's go into the questions.
Okay, all right. Maybe we can turn off screen sharing for a bit.
Sure.
Okay.
Let me figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Just there
Or
should be a
can
red stop share thing somewhere. Oh, do that.
stop share. There we go.
All right. So tell me a little bit more about what you see working with your clients with the digital marketing company. Where are they? I mean, are you getting people who are just jumping out of digital marketing, or are you getting clients which have been doing digital marketing but feel like they don't have a grip on it? What have you seen?
It's all over the place. I have a couple of huge companies,
Hmm.
Fortune 500 types that have been doing digital marketing, but maybe doing it the old way and still tracking with some older technology and just taking a lot of time. I asked for their pain point. They're like, yeah, it takes hours for us to download and mine the data and for
Yeah.
surveys and stuff. Um, so primarily larger companies that have been doing it for a while that need a better process or better system to analyze their data. So
All right. And typically when you go in, so we always talk about kind of the agile approach. Is there a specific thing you recommend to them as the first step, or it just depends on what kind of data, what are they struggling with?
oh my gosh, yeah, definitely. I've seen projects fail before in Power BI where they like, hey, we want to fix everything. We got to map all our processes. So that's one of the first things, on that first call. I was like,
Yeah.
what's your pain point? I listened to their processes, tried to identify the step in the process.
Yeah.
Or what takes you the longest time? Is it
Yeah.
VLOOKUPs or, I try to dig well, I asked them what tool you use and what's the longest. It's like, well, I exported out of this and then I put it in Excel and then I have to do a VLOOKUP to here. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, let's go on that one and let me give you
Yeah.
value instantaneously.
Yeah.
And then we go from there.
Cool. And what kind of systems are these people using? So when I think of digital marketing, I'm thinking kind of there's Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, things like that, and they all have their own reporting systems. But of course,
Right.
companies are we're running on multiple platforms, so that becomes a challenge. I mean, Google Ads, or is that what it's called now? Yeah, I think so. That can have perfect reporting, but I want to be able to combine it with my Facebook and LinkedIn and everything else and put together a complete picture. So it's almost meaningless to me how good or bad or not the Google reporting is. Um,
Right.
are these the kind of systems you're dealing with? Is there something else? Are there internal company systems that they're combining this data with? So maybe yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe sometimes their spend or something else is coming from their own internal system. So tell me a bit about that. Is it just kind of getting data from Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and others like that, or is it combining with the company data as well?
No, it's definitely combining. I'm seeing a lot more of that. So they'll the first step is usually they have that Salesforce data or some other CRM system,
Perfect.
and
Yeah, of
they
course.
export
Yeah.
it, and they're like, they give me the export, and they're like, hey, we have this data. Can you analyze this first? So I analyze it, and then usually I can help them. It's like, hey, do you have operations data, or do you have um, does this department have this data? And then usually it's like, yes, they do. I was like, okay, then how does that look? And it's usually an Excel or a Google sheet. I was like, okay, give
Yeah.
me that data, and then I'll tie it to your other data set, and then give you the link, and then you can have a single dashboard. But it's usually, like you said, an agile incremental process. So a lot of people don't. It's still amazing to me that a lot of people don't realize Power BI can connect everything.
Yeah.
So that becomes, some of the explanation is, yeah, there's still, you can connect to anything. Like you just bring it in, give it to me, and
Yeah.
I'll key it and connect it for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of you have probably heard this. I'm sure Charles has, where I have this theory of BYOV, bring your own visualization, where I don't necessarily see Power BI and Tableau as competitor. I believe in people should focus on a system which hosts their model and then let users bring their own visualization tool. Just the same way at companies, earlier they would hand us out Blackberries, but now you bring your own phone, bring your own device. So, but still, gosh, so of course, in the arena that you're in, the big heavyweight is Salesforce, and of course, Dynamics, I think, is still maybe the challenger. And now that Salesforce acquired Tableau, and Microsoft, of course, has Power BI, do, are you seeing some of that in the market? Do you expect that to have an impact, or you're saying, hey, data is data. If you're struggling to put it together, Power BI can be a good solution, and you should be open to it. Right? So, what are you seeing?
Yeah,
What's your
it's
take on that?
so interesting. I've seen 3 or 4 companies with Salesforce, and they've several have told me they still dump it into Excel and analyze it because they struggle with the reporting, and and then they can't tie it into other things. So yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard this request multiple times. It's even though they have Tableau, that integration hasn't happened, and the migration to me to Power BI to connect it somewhere else
yeah,
is happening all the time. Yeah, I haven't seen we got Salesforce and we went to Tableau. We got
yeah.
Salesforce, we dumped it out, and then we need you to help look
Yeah, I know
at it
Excel,
connect
the
it.
the ubiquitous BI tool, and yeah. So folks, uh, yeah, I mean, so I have this line where I say your strengths are your weaknesses are your strengths, and you certainly see that in Excel because its strength is it's ultimately flexible, but that's also his weakness because we know what ends up with that, right? I mean, you end up with these formulas everywhere, and like, gosh, it's very flexible, but it's too flexible. So, all right, that's pretty cool. Awesome, folks. So let's see if there was any comments. So, folks, if you have any question for Charles, type it in. I'll take a quick peek. But let's switch gears a little bit and let's go back to kind of the journey that we were on. So, folks, you probably already know Charles is one of our Pro Plus members, and we've certainly been, it's been a privilege to have have him in that group. So Charles, let's go back to kind of that journey, and maybe we'll backtrack a little bit. So tell me about. So of course, inside a program, you talk about kind of niching down, and tell me about that process of how you went on that journey and ended up with this focus on marketing, sales funnels, digital marketing.
Sure. I'm going to add a little part to it. So I know you've asked me before, and other people, it's like, what is the change point? And I think video is a big part of my story. So I need to include that. And
Yeah.
the biggest change point for me was, I think, when you invited me, Grace, and Diego onto a panel.
Whew.
And I was like, oh, I'm so glad it's a panel because it's not just me.
Yeah.
But we went on that show. We had so much fun. We had such a positive reaction from the crowd, and people were, I spent the next 4 days fielding LinkedIn messages,
Wow.
connections from
And
people
hey,
all over the
you
world.
you almost canceled on that one too. I'm
Yes,
glad you didn't.
I
I'm
did the
glad you
night
didn't.
before. Yeah, my wife was like, "You seem really nervous. Can you cancel?" And I was like, "I think it's too late." So I
Yeah.
had to do it. But once I
Yeah,
did
it's
it, I
great.
was like, "Wow, that was so much fun!" Right? So
I know. I know.
um, so I saw a flavor of how powerful video, how powerful YouTube, how powerful, the tribe, the influencer thing, how people with their attention they give you, how important that is, right, to brand, to digital marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
then a couple months later, you invited me on my first solo video, and I was just vulnerable, and I just told my story, and I was like, these are
Oh
all my
boy.
fears and all my worries, and and then again, like, I spent the next 5 days probably on that one, feeling LinkedIn connections, and they're like, Charles, we feel the same way you do.
Yeah.
It's like I opened this connection with the world about,
Yeah.
how to, that there's other people like you, like me, that have fears, and I was like so glad. It was such a connect way to connect with people all over the world. So anyways, yeah, that was part of the two turning points for me was, kind of your video, seeing how
Yeah.
well that worked, the Bonjour video, and then doing the two videos in succession. So that led me to, experimenting with LinkedIn. And this was probably 2 months ago now. And I was like, boy, I got to try this out, but, and I heard that LinkedIn was late to the game with raw,
Video.
or
Yeah.
not raw, native content,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That's
that
right.
they would promote it a little bit more. So I was like, I'll just do some videos. And once again, I was like, I held on to the video. I remember I posted it to the Slack group first, and I held on to it for like 2 or 3 days. And I
So
was
you
like, I
didn't
can't
publish
post
it, didn't
this.
make it public.
No, because I was saying I watched it. I was like, I was saying,
Yeah.
and I watched myself, and I was like, I cannot post this. People will
Mm-hmm.
hate me. Um, and finally, I just like, I think it was a Friday. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna walk away. And I did. I
Yeah.
published it, and the likes. It's still to this day. It was full of terrible, long pauses, and because I didn't know how to edit back then. But people just resonated with it, and they were liking it, and they were engaging, and it provided real value, right? So that's when I saw the power of LinkedIn. Is these were decision makers, and I was top of mind in these decision makers, and I was providing value to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is really interesting to me, and this
Wow.
is I'm passionate about this stuff, and if I can do
Yeah.
this, I bet I can help other people,
Yeah.
build their brand and get top of mind. So I wanted that's kind of when I was like, well, I'm going to niche, and I think you had commented too. It's like it's so hard for us to niche, to pick something because you're
Oh,
like,
yeah,
well, if
I'm
I
I'm
do that,
still doing it.
yeah, yeah, right. You're still struggling. I'm still struggling because you're like, what if I do this and I don't get any customers? And then people look at my website and they don't want to come to me because they think all I'm about is digital marketing. But that hasn't been the case. Like people are
Yeah.
like, oh, you do that too, but I really need you to do that. I can see the application. You can do this with that data. Why don't you do it with this
Yeah.
IoT data or financial data? So people are still coming, and what's
Mm-hmm.
the other interesting point is, I'm a lifelong learner. People
Yeah.
call me the sponge because I learn stuff fast, but I'm learning stuff because I've niched down. I've been
Mm-hmm.
able to focus and learn more about digital marketing and really interesting stuff and how to build Power BI models. And it's stuff that I can apply to other areas pretty quickly,
Yeah.
that some of the data models, the patterns.
Yeah.
Um, so it's that wasn't the case, and that's what I want to tell everybody on the show today is like, it's scary to niche down. You're like, what will happen?
Yeah.
Will I fail miserably? Like, but even if you fail, it doesn't matter, right? You can always pivot out if you want. But
Exactly. I
yeah,
mean,
so
if you learn from it, is it really a failure? That's great. So, folks, I want to call out one thing here. So, of course, people who are starting out, it seems so hard, and you're like, oh gosh, but I don't have this, right? And and of course, I'm glad we have folks like Charles because I know sometimes people look at me and they feel like I'm way up there. It's like, oh, but that's Avi. Avi, that's easy for you. But I'm going to bring that line again that I used earlier. Man, that's a powerful line. I think that's worth holding on, which is your strengths are your weaknesses are your strengths. And I forget the context I used it in earlier. but now, if you notice what Charles talked about and how he fosters these connections on LinkedIn. So of course he's helping the clients, but he's also kind of doing the digital marketing stuff himself, right? And he's doing video, and he talked about the power of engagement, and that's where the real power is. It's not about really the count. That's just a vanity number. Like I mean, number of subscribers, followers, whatever. It's about the engagement, and he talked about how he's able to engage in these one-on-one conversations. So again, your strengths are your weaknesses are your strengths. So my strength is that yeah, I got thousands of followers, but that is also my weakness because man, I'm at a level where you guys probably already know that I'm just not able to engage in these personal conversations. You and again, I'm sorry guys, but that's the way it is, right? So again, my strength is a weakness. So if you leave me a comment, uh, you're probably not gonna get a direct answer from me. As opposed to Charles, where you leave him comment, it might result in this conversation where Charles is gonna be like, hey, yeah, what about this and what about that, right? So the fact that you're starting out, make that your strength. Play into it. Lean into it. All right, awesome stuff, mate. So that's great. So switch gears a little bit. So Charles, of course, man, I mean, you do so much. You run this 3D printer. You're trying to install it in all the local schools and all of
yeah,
that stuff, and you help out so much in the community. But there's this, so when I left Microsoft, it felt like there was a fire burning inside of me. I felt like I'd stumbled upon a secret and I had to share it with the world. I mean, it was just like burning me up, and I had to do something. But I feel like there's something in you. You're so geared towards helping others. And actually, folks, so we're gonna I'm going to do a quick pitch on a real Power BI. So if you go to our site right now, learnpowerbi.com, then we have open applications for a real Power BI project, which the idea is simple. Business users submit the projects that they need help with, and we match them with Pro Plus members inside a group. We think it's a win-win. And interestingly, this interest has been pretty phenomenal this time. So thanks to everybody who submitted the projects. This is still open till the end of February. So go ahead and submit your projects. But Charles, the one he selected was a company who's kind of involved with kind of polio eradication in Southeast Asia and so forth. So Charles, I feel like in so many ways I see there's this kind of drive inside of you to kind of help others, right? And what is that? Do you know where's that coming from? Have you always been like that? Is there something specific that kind of made you that way?
It, I don't I think I don't know. It is. It's I am out here to make an impact. Maybe it's all humans, and maybe we're scared to go out there and put ourselves out there. But that's been a part of my story for a long time. I give back to the community. I give back to I joined Holland Rotary, and it was this week. They have a project in Kenya where they're helping drill some deep wells for water to help with the cows, and because they weren't getting clean water to feed the cows, and also to they were buying tractors to bring over there to help with farming,
Mm-hmm.
and then I signed up for another project at the Pine Ridge Reservation. 80% unemployment rate, per capita income is $4,000, I think, per family.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to help. I think, Avi, I had lived all over the world when I was younger. I'm half Thai, and I lived in Thailand, Indonesia,
Mm-hmm.
the Netherlands. And I think that experience where you connect with people all over the world,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, we live in a different country, but we're all just really humans, and we all have the
Yeah.
same fears and same struggles. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, from your video, is that I put out my fears, and people from all over the world
Yeah.
were connecting with me. And I think that human connection, I think we all have. We just don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to, take action, go out there, and I just decided, I'm gonna go out there and have no regrets and help the world. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, great. So we do have some questions that came in.
Oh yeah.
So Jeet, I might have missed your questions, so if maybe post it again. But the last one that I see is by Juliet, and she's asking, "Do you have a background in digital marketing before you got into BI?"
So the only real background was I went through MBA school when I was 2005, and I remember taking marketing class, and I took an IT class too, SQL queries and all kinds of stuff, and I remember those two classes were my favorite. And it took me
Wow.
15 years to finally
Come
get
back to
back
that.
into those two areas, but and I was always doing data analytics, throughout my career, in VBA and Excel and Access. But yeah, it was a long time ago, but I
Hmm.
finally figured out the passion, and I came back to it. So
Awesome. Yeah, but what I would say is that don't don't feel like I always say what got you here won't get you there. So wherever you are right now, it's a product of everything that you did so far. But from this point on, you're in total control, so you can choose the
yeah.
direction you want to go. All right. So Juan was asking, and I had that. I was thinking about that too. So you said how you're posting frequently, kind of twice a week. What's the strategy to generate content, and
It's
how
actually
often?
feedback from.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I think
What's
the
this?
second part was how often do you release content? So I heard twice a week on LinkedIn.
Twice a
But yeah,
week.
what's your strategy around that?
One's a video, usually on Tuesday, and then Tuesday morning. It's basically comments from the last video. So, I'll post a video the week before, and I say, hey, is there
Wow.
something? Or I read through the comments and be like, wow, there's 3 people that asked specifically about this. So then, I just take that feedback, and then create a new video. And then also, I volunteer a lot in town, Holland Rotary. I mentor two or three different entrepreneur groups. other people that are starting their own journey. So I typically post about those and helping others. So that's kind of my
Oh,
content, maybe of an event, and the other one is a video with value add to people that are starting businesses or are interested in digital marketing.
that's great. Pretty awesome. Let me see if there are any other questions. Yeah, folks, so I might have missed some that were earlier, so do go ahead and post it again, and we'll pick that up. So folks, with the Pro Plus program, I've always been inspired by the members and learn from them as well. So there's this spirit of giving, which of course we heard Charles talk about, and of course he shares more inside our Pro Plus channel. And we released the video of Diego Lopez, who has this big mission of bringing kind of justice to the world, this disparity between why is all the knowledge locked in English and not reachable for a lot of folks who do not speak English, right? Whose native language is different, and of course Diego, yeah, right. So that's pretty amazing. So Marianne and I, we've been talking about giving back ourselves. So I just wanted to kind of, I figured this would be a good time to kind of mention that. So we'll do a full announcement next week, but we're basically going to be announcing scholarships. Now we have done this before. We've done this before, but there was a bit of a disconnect. So we did get really awesome candidates, and I was so happy to be able to kind of help them with the scholarship. But then we kind of lost touch, and we didn't really know kind of what happened. So we're gonna do it slightly differently this time. This time, you're not only gonna get scholarship, but we're thinking of doing like a beta of a mentorship program as well, because I think that would be kind of more effective. That way, you just don't get a course, you get some handholding. And I haven't asked our Pro Plus members yet, but I'm hoping some of them would step up and say, "Yeah, I would love to." Oh, there we go. All right. So yeah, it's like, Charles, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but yeah. So I knew you kind of have it in you. So folks, yeah, you can probably I'll be mentoring just a few, but again, I'm just one person, so I'm trying to see, hey, how can we maximize this impact? That's what Charles talked about, and of course, a lot of these members Pro Plus, they're in a very good position, but they know that you got to pay it forward for one. And then, of course, as I've experienced it, by teaching, coaching others, that's what propels you higher. I frankly don't fully understand how. I mean, there's some tangible stuff, there's some specific stuff that I learned from Charles, Diego, and everybody else, but there's some other magic in this universe which I don't really know how it works. But when you help others, it kind of ends up helping yourself. So awesome, folks. Let's kind of end on that note. So Charles, if people are in the marketing sales funnel using Salesforce, stuck there and so forth, and if they are looking for help, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So solismatica.com, my website, or on LinkedIn, I have a Calendly link, where you can contact me there and schedule an appointment,
Yeah,
or my emails on both. But Avi, can I talk about paying it forward? Can I do one more quick story?
absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do a screen share if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
All
Oh
right.
boy.
Yeah, so I guess this kind of leads to the question of um, can you see my screen?
Yep. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so I did a marathon. I think it was 2013. And it takes a lot of training to do a marathon. It was kind of a tough event. But to the right of me, you see I'm in the red, and then this is at the finish line. There's my son, Josh, running with me at the finish line. He jumped in
Mm-hmm.
at the end, and then
Nice.
this guy, Rob, on the right, is part of the story. So I ran the marathon, and at mile 20, I hit the wall, right? And I think other people may know about the wall, but you just kind of hit this like real amount of pain, and your body just has had enough. Um, and my knees were just in utter pain, and I had stopped to walk, and I was looking at my phone, and I had given up.
Mm.
And I was looking over for a road to figure out where the ambulance could come pick me up, or where my wife could drive the car if I called her, and where the stretcher could just take me off the course. And this
Wow.
guy came up behind me, and he was an ultra cyclist. His name's Rob, and he was he had this was his first marathon too, and he had torn a ligament, I guess, on the right side of his leg. And other people had run by and said, "Hey, keep going," but Rob actually stopped next to me during this marathon, and we were both in a lot of pain. And he said, "Charles, you can't walk for too long because it's too hard, too painful to get back up and running." So he said, "What I'm going to do is I'm going to run alongside you, and we're going to pick like a tree or something in the distance. We're going to run to that, take a quick break, and then I'm going to will you on to keep running because I'm going to finish this with you." Right. So
Wow.
so this amazing guy, and I've never seen him again. But he came up and he ran next to me
Mm-hmm.
and willed me to finish the marathon. And even though we were both in utter pain and I had given up, I was looking for an out, right? Um, so, so that, speaking of paying it forward, there's people that have run beside me on my journey, be it marathon or starting a business, and I want to give back. That's part of the reason of why I want to give back is because people have run with me before, and I want to
Yeah.
be a part of other people's journeys. That's why I give back in the startup community. That's why I give up, help with Pro Plus. I help students with learning STEM with 3D printers because I want to be a part of their story too. If these kids grow up to be famous scientists, I was like,
Oh my God.
maybe I
Yeah.
did my small part.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's part of my story. It's that was a powerful point in my life was when this guy just out of the blue, like
Yeah.
just came up beside me and it's like, "Hey, I'm in pain too, but let's finish this together."
Oh
So
man, I was so excited, mate. Because I feel it, kind of that the same fire that I felt where I had to share that secret with you. I feel that fire in you where I gotta help others. So, folks,
yeah,
yeah, I've heard this story before, and it's incredibly powerful. And of course, Charles had this line that, "Hey, now my mission is to kind of help others finish their marathon." So yeah, great. So look out for next week. We're gonna have more announcement about. We're gonna formally open the application for the scholarships, and again, this time is not just a scholarship. We want to combine this with a mentorship program where you have a check-in with either me or Charles or one of the other Pro Plus members who are willing to kind of participate in the mentorship program, so you can have somebody kind of guide you, hold your hand a little bit. And again, if you are working with marketing data, kind of sales data, sales funnels using Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, anything like that, then we brought up just go to solusmatica.com. That should be linked in the description below. And yeah, getting hold of Charles is as easy as booking a call if you're looking to engage with him, and kind of get some help from him on Power BI. And of course, also follow him on LinkedIn, where he posts twice a week about his journey, about Power BI, digital marketing, all of that. All right, Charles, thank you so much. I'm
it was
sure we would
fun.
have you again for a repeat, another one. All right, folks, if you enjoyed this session and if you learned one thing useful, let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Power on.